Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Magazine's Helicast. You can go to verticalhelicast.com to check out all the great podcasts that we have on that platform. Hangar Z, the Helicopter Podcast, the Valor Flight Crew, and Vertical MRO Podcast. Again, that's verticalhelicast.com. Now, let's take a quick shout out to our sponsors, Airbus, pioneering sustainable aerospace for a safe and united world. Contact them at airbus.com. Blue Drop Training and Simulation, innovative training and interactive technologies. See what they can do for you at bluedroppts.com. Precision Aviation Group. Get off the ground with tip-to-tail solutions at precisionaviationgroup.com. Ready Bar, meal replacement bar. Was born from deep space nutrition research, now is fueling those who push the limits here on Earth. You can get 10% off with the Real ResQ discount code RESQ10 by going to getreadybar.com. And if you want to help support this podcast, go to the realresqstore.com and see what we've got there for sweet swag. Now let's get into our episode. Coming up next, we have more incredible stories coming from a member of the Penrith Mountain Search and Rescue Team in the UK. This dedicated group of volunteers works tirelessly to help those in distress, but they can't do it alone. If you'd like to support their life-saving efforts by joining the team or just making a simple donation, please visit the penrithmrt.org.uk or check out the Penrith Mountain Rescue Team on Facebook. Every contribution helps continue their vital mission. Now let's learn a few facts about our next guest and his search and rescue dog. This search and rescue dog is the oldest and longest serving of the Cumbrium search dogs at 12 years old with over 7 years of operational service. Their family is the pup's fourth home. The favorite toy of hers is anything that squeaks. And now a few from our guest. He can use his top lip to block his nose while diving. He has been the reigning champion in the Cumbrium Mountain Rescue Team members 50-yard hopper racing championship for the last 16 years. But that's only because the event has never been repeated. He had a song produced by the same producers who did a number for Duran Duran's hits. Unfortunately, it never went any further than that. Please welcome our next guest, Mr. Matt Nightingale and his search and rescue canine, Morag. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. I've got another guy from the UK, and this is another special moment for me because this is the very first time I've had this. We've had dog handlers on here before and their dog stories, which included a cadaver dog, and recently we had our canine police dog. But now we officially have a search and rescue dog and his handler. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Nightingale. What's up, dude?
Hello, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah. I'm super pumped about this because I literally have been searching for search and rescue dogs for a long time.
Yeah, well, normally they come searching for you.
Yeah, right? And this is totally opposite.
Great.
Well, thanks, man. And let me bring this into you. So you are a volunteer search and rescue member of the Penrith Mountain Rescue Team out of the UK. You're also part of the local cave and underground rescue team known as the Mine Rescue Team. It's you and your dog, Morag.
Yes,
dude,
that's correct. Yeah.
That's sick. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited to get into this. So you and Morag. Yeah. Wow. How long have you guys been in like search and rescue?
Me and the dog, we've been a graded search team for over 7 years now. So we've been
Oh,
out
wow.
looking for missing people for over 7 years, and we had the training before that as well.
Holy
So,
cow. That's
yeah.
amazing.
She's 12 years old, probably not long
Wow.
off retirement, but still going well
No.
at the moment.
Hey, let it ride. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
she loves it.
What was the last thing you guys got called out on?
The last search we did was not too far from where I live in Cumbria in the UK, near Patterdale, for a missing person. Someone, what we'd call a despondent, someone who's potentially gone to take their own life. Unfortunately, this is the general role of a dog handler and a lot of search teams, is you go looking for people who've, are not in a good place. So the last search we got called early evening. I think I just lit the barbecue to have some friends round for an evening, and the call came in, and clearly, I was free to go. I didn't have to do the barbecue, so off we went. About half an hour's drive from where I live, and a car had been found in the valley. And we were asked to search some woods near the car in case the person had gone in there. So our evening, we spent 3 hours searching through woods. And when I first looked at it on the map, I thought, oh, that looks okay. They're probably not, they're native woods. They won't be too dense. They'll be all right. What I hadn't really appreciated was the steepness of the hillside they were on. So you set off through the woods, and, it's okay lower down. As you get higher and higher up, it gets steeper and steeper. And the other thing as well, one of the reasons I was sent there was because I got the interest in mines, in disused mines, and those woods have quite a few disused mines in. So it was like, oh, Matt, you can do that, and while you're up there, you can just have a quick look in the mines just in case. When I'm working the dog, I can't. Yeah. When I'm working the dog, I can't go in a mine. But we did stand on the outside and have a look in, and that made it quite interesting, particularly as it started to get dark, because you'd be walking along on this steep hillside, and then suddenly there'd be a big hole in the ground or a slot cut in from where the mines went. It brings up the interesting debate of, should you really be there on your own with only a dog for company? But that's the life of a dog handler, slipping and sliding through this woodland and in the dark on this kind of damp, really warm, muggy evening, and looking for this missing person. And a couple of hours in, I think the search they'd realised they'd probably done all they could do that evening, and was told just to kind of make a note of where I'd been and make my way back. So,
right on.
As is the normal story, I think, as a dog handler, we don't normally find people, but we normally say there probably isn't anyone there
to be found.
So that
yeah,
you can concentrate your efforts on somewhere else.
Nice.
So that was it. Came back just kind of a bit scratched and sweaty. Got back in the car and went home.
30 minutes up. Yeah. Did you at least get to cook the steaks up that you started?
I think my wife and kids, they did the bare minimum on the barbecue to feed themselves, and then and then that was and then got bored, and probably wasn't really an occasion when I'd had to call up my friends who were coming round to say, oh, I'm off out, and then it didn't really happen. Yeah. Fortunately, I've got a very tolerant family.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of you guys that do a lot of that volunteer stuff is all your families have to be pretty tolerant, or part of the team, one or the other.
Yeah, they are. The family are very much part of the team because they let me out. I mean, my wife does an awful lot of kind of running around after me and putting up with me when I'm dashing out to stuff, because it's not just the rescues. It's loads and loads of training and things, which kind of probably gets in the way with what she wants to do as well. So you've got to have a really good tolerant family, otherwise it's just not going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. It's when your wife says, no, Matt, we are getting dressed up. You are wearing this tonight and we are going out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have any stories like, a few weeks ago you had my friends, and kind of close companion on rescues Harry on, and he was telling the story about dressing up in an ABBA costume. I've never had that. Yeah,
it made for a wonderful conversation.
It did.
I couldn't not keep that exactly where it was because it was just phenomenal. So
yeah. I've got no stories about being in fancy dress while attending a rescue.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
Well, Matt, let's bring it to you, man. Where are you from, and how did you even get into the search and rescue stuff?
Oh, right. So where am I from? Well, in the UK. My links with search and rescue. My granddad was in the professional mine rescue when he was a coal miner in South Wales. So he was in the mine rescue team, and I did speak to him about that. I mean, he passed away not long since, but I spoke to him about that. And what I got out of his time in the mine rescue team was that he got free lunches. He got called to places, and at least he didn't talk about doing any real rescues, but he did get lunch. So that's a story from my granddad. But he was in the mines rescue team, and he did the training, and he showed me through some of the primitive equipment they had for kind of filtering the air when they were down in the mines. But my real memory is my stepdad, who, to be honest, I just think of him as my dad. But my stepdad was in mountain rescue from when I can first remember him at the age of 2 up to when I was about 8. So he was in the Teesdale and Upper Weardale search and rescue team, as it was known then. I think he was a deputy team leader, and he went to the Lockerbie air crash, and I remember him going on that. And then I remember
I'm sorry, the what?
The Lockerbie air crash. It was a plane. It was going to the US actually, which was bombed as it flew over the very south of Scotland. So there was the plane wreck scattered. It landed on the town Lockerbie. Yeah, it's quite a.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. And this is what I found online. There are a few articles and a few different websites that you can find all this information on. One of them was Remembrance Scholars, and that is a Syracuse education. Here's what it says. Syracuse University, history. On December 21st, 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 left London's Heathrow Airport, headed to New York City at 7:03 p.m. The Boeing 747, known as Clipper Made of the Seas, leveled off at 31,000 feet. Just north of the England-Scotland border, an explosion blew a basketball-sized hole in the fuselage. The plane, carrying 259 men, women, and children, broke apart and fell to the earth. All were killed, along with 11 residents of Lockerbie, Scotland. What seemed at first to be a horrific accident was soon proven to be the result of a terrorist bomb planted in a radio cassette recorder inside a suitcase in the forward cargo hold. Some additional websites that had some further information were Arlington National Cemetery.mil, Wikipedia, the BBC.com, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation.gov.
Yeah, the plane was bombed as it flew over the kind of, northern England, southern Scotland. And it came crashing down on Lockerbie on one of the. It actually landed on a housing estate. A large part of it did. So that's my kind of memory of him being involved in search and rescue. So I remember him going to that, and I remember him having about 3 days away in the snow, digging cars off some of the roads that had been snowed in. I mean, he was away for 3 days. We were at home with a power cut in the snow, but I just remember having loads of fun playing in the snow. But, goodness knows what he was up to for all that time. So those are my memories of that. And then as I kind of got older, I just, fell in love with the outdoors like you do. I was in a really wonderfully relaxed scout group where I can't remember getting any badges, but I do remember going camping on Dartmoor at the time, as we lived near Dartmoor then. So just, loads of weekends there. And then moved back to the northeast of England, and I became a cadet member of the Teesdale Search and Rescue Team. So you could join as a cadet from 16 to 18, and then from 18 you could become a regular member. And because my dad was involved with that, and had a friend whose dad was the team leader at the time. I went along at the age of 15 by accident, so I was too young to start, but no one actually asked me, so it was all good. So yeah, at the age of 15, I started in search and rescue. I was nearly 16. Did that for 2 years as one of these cadet members, where we could go on searches, but as long as they were pre-arranged, but we weren't called out instantly. If there was an immediate call out, we weren't called out because we were only young. Did that, then spent a year as a probationary member, but then decided I was going to go off to university. My hopes of becoming a rock star had faded. I got bored of dry stonewalling and decided to go and study physics. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then so then I had to leave Teesdale team, and then after I'd finished at uni, I got a job in Penrith in Cumbria, and joined the Penrith Mountain Rescue team then, and that was 19-ish years ago now. Yeah, 19 years ago.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so what? Because you're a volunteer, that means you have a regular person's job, or
yes,
supposedly.
Yeah.
What is a regular person's job?
Right, my current regular job is I teach rope rescue most of the time. Rope access, rope rescue.
Teach rope rescue?
Yes.
That's your regular job?
Yeah, that's my regular job.
That's freaking awesome.
It is a really good job, and I love it, but I'm also really geeky about it. I've got a background in physics, and for 10 years I was a physics teacher, so I love that. And then I've been able to join my kind of what I love in, well, part of what I love in kind of search and rescue with my physics and teaching, and now I teach rope rescue. It's worked out really well. Oh, that's
super cool. So when you all right, so multiple questions. First of all, physics teacher, that's amazing. I would not have been in your class. Just kind of, I gotta throw myself under the bus. I know, right? Like, oh man, because I actually dig all like the your multiple pulls and what pulley system is doing what, and how many pounds you're pulling here to get this weight up there. Yes. I love all that stuff. I really do. Like, but I wouldn't have been in your class, unfortunately. Man.
I really love the practical application of it. I wasn't too bothered with the theory or the more theoretical side. I like the theory when it applies to the practical, but being able to now when I get some keen groups at work and they ask me for the physics and the maths behind the forces and the pulley systems, I really love being able to, take an hour out and go and describe all that. And yeah, some of them, very occasionally, some of the people I'm training really love it as well.
Oh, I might have to ask you to make a PowerPoint presentation and just come on here and give us a physics lessons, okay? This might happen.
I could try. But that was 7 years ago as a physics teacher, so it's a little bit. Right. It's a little bit.
Now, when you sketchy. Is that were you teaching like grade school? And I know the grade school system is a little bit different than the U.S. I know it, but I'm not super keen on it. Yeah, so what age group are you teaching?
Yeah, 11-year-olds through to kind of 18 or possibly 19-year-olds.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice. So, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Man, that's fantastic. Physics teacher. Now, full-on ropes rescue. Dude, that's sick. Yeah. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Blue Drop Training and Simulation. Blue Drop Training and Simulation for equipping your team with essential training solutions, including highly interactive courseware and advanced VR/MR simulation training tools. Explore more of Blue Drop's training solutions at bluedropts.com.
All right, so now I'm gonna bring us back to a little bit of rescue because you said you've been on a team for many years now. So, do you remember your first rescue, like you on the team?
Well, I think so. And when we talked just before the program, I said about my first rescue. I think it's the first rescue, but it was a while ago. Yeah, so it's a bit of an embarrassing story, really, where it was probably quite a straightforward rescue, and in the woods, not far from the road. And I turned up, with another team member, a more established team member, who, for the sake of this story, we'll call Phil. So turned up the side of the road, me, Phil. I was young and keen. I picked up half a stretcher, another big bag of stuff, and my own bag from what I remember. And we were met at the roadside by a team member who pointed us into the woods and said, they're just down that track, 2 minutes down that track, can't miss them. Set off down the track, me and Phil. I'd been reassured by a few people in the team that Phil was really good. He could, really good navigator and all this. So I just kind of, in a slightly relaxed way, just went along with him. I was carrying the bags. He was going to lead us to the site. Set off 2 minutes down the track, can't miss them. After about 10 minutes, I started to look at my watch and think, are we going the right way? Are we going the right, it's something up. And it was then about another 10 minutes. We'd been walking for 20 minutes before I plucked up the courage to go, Phil, do you think we might have gone the wrong way and missed them? At which point, we both got, had a serious look at the maps and where we were and thought, because we were in the middle of a wood, so it's a bit hard finding out exactly where you were. So it's like, maybe we have. So we turned round, walked back, and we walked all the way back to the road to find that the ambulance, I think, was just setting off with the casualty in, and we'd completely missed the whole rescue. And the one thing that puzzled me when I was thinking about this story was I set off into the woods carrying half a stretcher, and the casualty came out of the woods. So did they come out on only half a stretcher, or did some poor person have to take another stretcher in? So, yeah, slightly embarrassing story. The first rescue that I remember, we completely missed it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. That's the reality of it, though, isn't it?
It totally is. It. You know what? We all have our first, which that's why I asked that question. Like, I love our first. And they probably let's go on another aspect. It's like they put sticks together. They created their own litter. Absolutely, they're ingenious about the whole thing.
I'd hope so. I don't know. I might have known at the time, but it was 19 years ago. I can't really remember now.
Oh gosh, that's funny. Man, thank you for sharing that. All right, so now let's bring it up into your wonderful dog, Morag. Where did you get her? How did she come into play? Like, and what drew you to getting or wanting to get a search dog?
Oh, right. So the wanting to get a search dog is I like dogs, but I particularly like working dogs. I've got nothing against people who like dogs as a pet, but I think because I grew up, I was never a farmer, but I grew up around farms in kind of rural places, and you'd watch the dogs working and get to do a little bit with them, getting the sheep in and things. And I just absolutely adored working dogs. So then watching the mountain rescue search dogs and these dogs, with all their intelligence and their kind of their fitness and their speed going out and doing something really useful. Yeah. I just love that. So after I'd been in mountain rescue for a number of years and we'd got ourselves a house where we could, we owned the house so we could have a dog in it and had a secure garden and things like that. It's like, right, now at the time where I can get a dog. And at the time we were friends with someone who worked for an animal refuge near Carlisle, Oak Tree Animal Refuge. And we'd spoken to him and he knew we were considering getting a dog as a search dog. And one day he phoned us up. I think we were on holiday actually when he phoned us up, so we couldn't kind of go straight away. Yes, we were. So he phoned us up and said, "Oh, we've got this young border collie that's just come in, 18-month-old, female border collie. You might be interested in having a look at her as a search dog." So we called in as soon as we could to the rescue home to have a look at her. And I kind of met her in passing in the kind of on the way into the centre, and remember looking at this dog thinking, that's a bit of an ugly dog. Anyway, carried on in, and then was introduced to this bit of an ugly dog. And I think the reason I thought she was a bit ugly is I hadn't spent much time around short-haired border collies.
Okay.
I wouldn't go back now. I think they're amazing, but it was just a bit of a shock. It wasn't what I thought a border collie was because I'm used to the longer haired ones. Anyway, so we sat and we had this chat about this dog, and the whole time she was in the room and she was perfectly friendly, but she was preoccupied with this fly that was buzzing around and didn't interact with the people at all. So, then we took her for maybe on another visit. We took her for a walk and she just pulled like a demon on the lead. We we kind of got by and got to a river, and she was absolutely terrified of the water and wouldn't go anywhere near, and all this. And then for some reason we said, yeah, we'll adopt her. There was a bit more of a backstory because she'd been found walking on the streets of Carlisle, the city in Cumbria. It's not a particularly big city. She'd been found walking on the streets of Carlisle and picked up by the kind of the dog warden. And then when she was tracked back to her owners, the owners said they didn't want her back. Apparently she was a nightmare. And that wasn't actually the start of her problems, because originally she'd been to Dumfries Animal Refuge twice. So I think she'd started at a farm, got dumped at the animal refuge, was rehomed, got dumped back at the animal refuge in Dumfries again, and then went to Carlisle, and then went walking around the streets and got sent to the animal refuge there. So she was her third animal refuge.
Wow.
But although she kind of didn't interact with people and was scared of water and pulled on a lead and chased the bin lorry, she was...
Wait, I'm sorry, chase the what?
She like the bin lorry.
What the hell's a bin lorry?
Like a refuge truck. Like takes your garbage away.
Oh yeah, like a dump truck. Got it. All right, yeah. The trash compactor truck. Got it.
Yes, that sounds good. I like that. Trash compactor truck. Bin lorry.
So, bin lorry. Got it.
Yeah, it just drove past while we're taking for a walk.
Remember, you're talking to America here, okay?
Sorry. Sorry, I
don't know all your terms over there yet. I'm still learning.
I grew up in hill farming country in the UK. I live in a very small world, completely isolated.
Oh man.
Anyway, so
I'm really, really trying.
It's fine. No. So anyway, we decided to adopt her. We'd have kept her as a pet if she hadn't worked out as a search dog, but with a lot of help from some good dog trainers a particular good dog trainer in the area and things, we actually managed to get her into, within about 6 months, she was a pretty good kind of obedient dog. She still had a few hang-ups though from probably her youth. She was a bit obsessed with cars. She did go running off, not in a particularly aggressive way. And she did have a bit too much of an interest in sheep, which kind of came back to bite us a bit later on in the training. But she's a sheepdog. Border collies were bred for herding sheep. So anyway, that's how we came to get her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember what year you got her?
Oh, you asked 2014.
Nice. All right. So
fall of 2014.
Oh, that's super cool. Well, and here's the reason I asked that, because all the work that you put into her, you actually landed in 2 different magazines, and then you had a couple articles written to you. And I want to touch on some of them right now because it's just cool. So this is the first one in 2017. It's the Carlisle Living Magazine. And here's just a headline. Matt Nightingale, the Penrith Mountain Rescue team member and physics teacher on small talk, ugly dogs, and seeing ghosts. I don't know where the seeing ghosts comes into play because that's later in the article, but here's what the start of it says. Matt Nightingale, 33, is a member of the Penrith Mountain Rescue Team and is currently training his collie Morag to be a search and rescue dog. A physics teacher in Queen Elizabeth Grammar School, Matt joined the school 10 years ago, initially as a science technician and then trained to be a teacher. He grew up in Teesdale in the Pennines and gained his degree in physics at Lancaster University. Matt lives in Penrith with his wife Laura, a teacher of health and social care at Newton Rig. Their first baby is due anytime soon. Aw, I love it. And that's the beginning of the article, but it's really about you and Morag, who ends up being a search and rescue dog, which is great. So that's 2017. Then 2018, you get a news clipping, and this is great. I love this one. It says, or the headline says this: Rescue dog Morag is a fully fledged rescuer herself. A dog which was rescued from living on the streets has progressed to become a search dog with the Penrith Mountain Rescue Team. Morag, a 5-year-old collie, has just passed the final assessment to be awarded the coveted green tag of the Lake District Mountain Rescue Search Dog Association graded search dog. She has come a long way since her adoption from Oak Tree Animals Charity, Wetherell, in 2014, after she was originally found as a stray in Carlisle. It goes further into the article, and this is where it says, like, you come into play. Morag and Matt have joined the call-out team, meaning they can be summoned at any time of the day or night to work in some of the most challenging terrain and conditions. To guarantee a search dog, they had to pass more than 16 rigorous assessments, including avalanche training and multiple searches. Matt said, fortunately, Morag was an excellent dog for the job. Her playful and gentle nature has made her a favorite among the dogs' bodies who sit out on the fell in all weather waiting to be found. Dude, that's awesome. What a great write-up.
Yeah.
But there's one more. Oh. So you were recognized in 2019, the next year, for the Lake District and Lancashire Life magazine. And here's what this one says. I'm just going to read a little piece of it. Heroes on the Fells. Matt Nightingale and his 6-year-old border collie share a very special bond. Matt has been a member of the Penrith Mountain Rescue Team for 13 years, and recently his 4-legged friend Morag has qualified to work alongside him as a fully fledged search dog. Their achievement is all the more remarkable because Morag, who is now helping to rescue people, was once a rescue dog herself. Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so cool. I love reading that. It's just fun. The fact that she was rescued, like as a rescue dog, now performing search and rescue. That's just cool. So now I'm going to bring it into you. After you get through all of your training and stuff, what are some of the call-outs that you guys have had?
I did count up how many we'd had roughly, but I can't quite remember. But we've probably been out on about pushing close to 100 calls. A number of them.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of them though, you get stood down before you've arrived. Because we cover quite a large area, so you set off driving and you're 45 minutes into your drive and you get someone phones you up, so you pull over and answer the phone. It's like, oh, they've turned up. So you drive back again. And there's quite a few kind of mundane ones. There was one of the early searches that I remember was up on Crossfell, which is the highest mountain in England outside of the Lake District, and it's in the north of the Pennines. I've heard it described as the biggest mountain in England. It's not the tallest, but it is just this big, massive mountain. It's quite fat, just not particularly well. It's reasonably tall, but not as tall as some. It's just about 900 meters high, which probably, Jason, by your standards, is tiny, but in England, that's a fair size.
That's a big mountain. I got it.
Well, it's a fair size if you get lost on it, I think, because there's not much up there. It's big and bleak. We got a call up there, and I remember it was in my last couple of weeks of being a teacher. I'd handed in my notice, and I was winding down to leave. And the call came in. I thought, oh, this is very much a search dog job, as in people can go looking, but this is the ideal one for a dog. Someone is lost in the cloud on Crossfell. So I basically just, as a volunteer in mountain rescue, we might have to leave work, but we could only leave work if work lets us leave. Yeah. So the agreement I had with the school I was at was if I could leave, if I was free to leave, then that'd be all right. So if I didn't have lessons to do at that time or, something, then I could go. But on this occasion, because I was so close to leaving anyway, I think I just phoned the head teacher up and said, I'm off on a search. Bye. You know? So I was quite excited because clearly I was new to this. I spent ages training the dog. I was really keen. Went down to the mountain rescue base, and there was me and then two probationary members of the team, so two new members of the team, and both absolutely awesome people. But at the time they were quite new, so it was like, right, we got in a Land Rover and took the long drive round to one of the high tracks up Crossfell. So it's about like an hour and 15 minutes drive or something, with a lot of that being off road up this track. Got there and started the search, thinking, there'll be more team along soon. And we started searching, and we found the person. To be honest, it was incredibly straightforward. We set off up the path, and then the dog ran sideways and did what she does. She barked at what I thought was a pile of stones. When we got there, the missing person had pitched their dark green tent in the cloud, and was just sat out in it and was just cold. So kind of got on the radioed, I've had this find. I was really chuffed. My dog's made a find. This is brilliant. On the radio, no response. Oh, well, we'll treat the person. We'll start sending them down. Tried the radio again. No response off anyone. And then phoned up the team leader, and the team leader said, what are you calling me for? I'm out for a walk. Like, you've sent me on this search. Anyway, so it was a bit of a weird one, because we were up on the mountain doing this search with me and two probationary team members, and I thought there'd be a whole team of support out there somewhere, and there wasn't. It was just us. And the most disappointing thing was like, there's been no one to see my dog make a find. Because other than that, fortunately, the person we'd found, she'd got herself into a tent, and she was cold, but she was fine. And we walked down, and we got back in the truck, in the Land Rover, and drove back down, and that was that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Chalk that up as a win. First find.
First, it was, because we haven't had many finds, because you don't have many finds. As I think I said earlier, most of the time you just go out with your dog, search, and you come back and report there's probably not anyone there. So I don't think that was the first job, but it's the first one I can. Well, it's certainly the interesting early one, and within the first couple of months of working her. Yeah,
that's funny. That's hilarious. You go up and thinking there's all the support, and there's nobody. It's just you.
Yeah, but I genuinely thought there was. It was like, why is my radio not working? Why is no one replying? There was no one there.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, that's great. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Wow. I know you have a list of a couple that really stand out to you that you guys did well. And one of them is like your most successful find of you and Morag.
Yeah, well, the one where we had the reason that first search, the one I just mentioned, although the dog, she did make a find, we knew roughly where the person was. They had said on the phone they were 15 or 20 minutes or something like that from the summit of Crossfell, and they thought they were heading north. So from that, you've got a pretty good idea of where they were. The other find we had was someone who had just walked up Helvellyn over a ridge, Striding Edge, which is quite an exposed ridge, and they'd gone up. Their wife had kind of waited at the bottom of the ridge. This person had walked up, and they hadn't come back down. So it was a much kind of bigger area and a lot more of an unknown as to where they might be.
Okay. So
call came in towards the end of work. So I think I just left about 15 minutes early. Went around to kind of Patterdale, the valley where you go up to for this ridge onto the mountain Helvellyn. And I set off up there, me and another dog handler. It was quite steep ground, but we were going to go up kind of together and work separate areas. And you hear the brief, this person's possibly fallen off Striding Edge. So you start to formulate an idea of where where you think they're going to be. And the other guy I was with kind of went off to the right of me, and I was going to search the area to the left. And I kind of got this feeling that he'd picked his area thinking that's the probable area. That's probably where they are. So when I went up with the dog, I was thinking they're probably there. And this kind of, this bad thought, this bad thing, I guess, of second guessing where you reckon someone might be. And we're searching on some pretty horrible, steep, slippy ground. And it wasn't particularly nice as it, kind of get up closer and closer up the side of the ridge. And I was kind of trying to keep my dog to the right, thinking that's probably where they are, when she went off to the left. And then kind of stood there and kind of barked a little bit at seemingly nothing. So I kind of thought, that's a bit odd. So I wandered over, and she was probably about 50 or so meters away, but it was on pretty horrible ground. So it took a while to get there. And I wasn't that enthusiastic, thinking, what's she doing? There's this kind of slightly hesitant bark coming from a bit of, a slab of stone. And as he got closer and closer, it's like, oh, there's a bit of someone's dropped some clothing there or something. And it was when you're closer still, you find that was a body of someone who'd, fallen a long way off the ridge.
Yeah.
It's probably about come down a couple of 100 feet or something on steep ground with lots of things to bounce off on the way. And it was interesting because it's the first time I'd seen someone deceased who'd just kind of gone splat, and it took a while to think that's a person. It didn't kind of click as being a person. It was just some clothes there. It's like no, there is a person there.
Oh man.
And the dog was, she'd barked at them and things. And normally, as I might talk about later, they get their reward, which is a squeaky toy. But you're on this really steep ground, and you're like, well, I can't throw you a toy because this is going to be really dangerous. And we stood next to a deceased person. So I just had to give her some strokes and say, well done, and then try and get more people to us. There were other people around. You could see kind of other people around. I'm trying to remember if it was dark or light, but you could either see torches or people. They weren't far off. But I got my radio, and radio didn't work. So I remember just standing there again. Yeah, this was for different reasons. This because we'd had an apparent upgrade to the radios, which meant they didn't work. We've gone to digital radios. And anyway, so I remember standing there then, on this steep ground next to this dead person, jumping up and down, waving my arms, saying, there's something over here, not wanting to say, I found the person. Yeah. Doing that whilst kind of intermittently deciding I'm going to have to check to see if they're all right. And there was that kind of, you go down to them, you think, are they all right? And you're like, actually, I can pretty much see through their skull. There's holes in it, and there's bits just.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think they're all right, are they?
Yeah.
And it was a bit. It was kind of one of these things that's a bit grim, but you might know it yourself. When you're in that situation, you just get on with it, don't you? It is just, It is as it is.
Well, first you have a job to do. You're on.
Yeah.
You've got a job to do. So you just do your job.
Yeah. You click into that.
The after side, that, when you decompress everything, that's what it's like.
Yes.
What did I just see? What? Yeah. What just happened? What the? Yeah.
But then you're in a situation where you're with this person that passed away. There's, dogs are amazing at finding, but they are part of the team. What my dog can't do is carry someone down the hill or do any, kind of first aid or anything like that. So
yeah,
a couple of other people came over, and we kind of said, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're dead. And then fortunately a doctor turned up who then said, yes, they're definitely dead. Though with hindsight, it was pretty obvious,
I don't mean to laugh. That's not funny. Oh, I get it.
No, but you're probably, you'll have dealt with these situations where it's that kind of, if you can't laugh, what else can you do?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And there's times when the family's there, that's been really awkward because you've got to kind of hold yourself together and stay composed. But actually, it's quite nice when it's just other MR team members, and it doesn't matter then so much if you laugh, does it? So,
no, somebody makes a stupid joke and everybody starts laughing, but it's dark humor. You're like, you shouldn't make a joke of that, but it's kind of funny.
This is why I can't be too specific about this in case one of the relatives is listening to your podcast. So
exactly.
So I won't mention any names.
Be cognizant. we do have a heart. Okay, that's
Yeah,
why we
of
go out and
course.
search for everybody.
That's why we do it. If I didn't care, I wouldn't do it. But you've got to, like you
Exactly.
say, decompress. You've managed these things in your own way, and
Dark humor is funny.
It is. So, continuing along those lines, we were then left there, and because we'd made the find, it's kind of standard etiquette that you want that continuity until they're passed on to the professionals. So we kind of waited around, and some of the other team members came up from Patterdale team who'd been out searching and kind of hung around for a bit, and then generally they kind of went away because it was quite a cold night. Yeah. So I put on all my jackets and things and sat there in a little shelter to put over me. But I didn't like being in the shelter because you lose the view. And people come and go. Some of the other dog handlers called past, said hello and things like that. And then I couldn't, because of the ground we're on, I was there with a dog and I couldn't tie the dog up. So she was kind of wandering around, and at one point she wandered off and I called her back to me, and she came back, and bless her, as much as I love her, at this moment in time, I was pretty disgusted. She came back and just completely red face. And you're like, oh dear, what have you been up to? And then kind of, because I'd sat slightly back from the person we'd found, just, 10 yards, 20 yards away. And it's like, oh dear. And I went back over there, and it's like this scene, which was like this splattered mess, had miraculously cleaned itself up. And I was like, oh,
oh my God.
Oh, she's coming over for some fuss now. Yes, you. The things you've eaten. Oh. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so we were there then a few hours, and then it was we were doing the search for Patterdale team, and it was my team, Penrith team, that came up to take the body away, because they could, fresh set of people. The other team members have been out searching, so they came up. We got the body on, we took it down. But that was that. And then you hear this, and I can't say too much because you're saying if any relatives hear this, and we've been laughing about it. But there's a bit of a backstory to this, so it kind of lingered on for a while. They're kind of having to go to the coroner's court and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was. But because it was lingering on, you want to be able to praise your dog and have the success and have people go, oh, well done, your dog made this find. But because she'd found someone who'd passed away, you didn't get that.
Oh, yeah,
it was just quiet. If she'd found someone who was alive, it'd have been, wow, everyone would have known about it. It'd have been a big thing. But no, just keep quiet about this. And then because there was investigation, I just couldn't talk about it for 6 months until it was all cleared up.
Man.
So, yeah.
Did you ever find out how they fell or what happened?
No, not quite. There was some suspicious circumstances. They might have fallen. They might have decided to jump.
We'll leave it at that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why there was the long investigation into it.
Got it. Yeah. I don't want to, allegedly or anything like that. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we'll leave it. All right, cool.
Well, that's okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's, wow.
So that was a long night. And
what a story. Yeah. This is why I love this stuff, Matt. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. Yeah. When you think you're like, oh, I've seen it all. I've heard it all. Nope, you haven't.
Yeah. But this is rare. I mean, most of the time we'll go out, we'll walk around the mountains, and we won't come across anything. Or we'll find an old jacket or something like that. And then we'll go back and we'll just report in and go, yeah, there's probably not anyone up there. Let's focus our efforts somewhere else. Yeah. And that's the general turn of events. Or you're partway through your search and they turn up at home or something like that. Fortunately. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the most probably our kind of successful find, because you didn't have a clue really where this person was. They could have walked over the mountain and down the other side.
That's awesome, man. Good for her.
Yeah, she'd done a cracking job.
Right on.
So there was another find we made, but it wasn't. This was quite an interesting one because it wasn't the it wasn't the dog that made the find, but we made the find because we had a dog. So this was out on the North Pennines where, big open space.
Hold on. I get to process that for a second. The dog didn't make the find, but you had the dog, and that's the reason that they were found.
Yes.
Okay.
So we had there was this couple who
you know how that sounded, right? Like,
oh well, hopefully by the time I've told the story, it'll make a bit more sense. Hopefully. So there was this couple missing in the North Pennines, and I think they'd got a bit lost, and then it had gone dark, and they'd got stuck. So we went out searching for them, and multiple people went out, and it was a reasonably clear night. And we had lots of big search torches that were probably really obvious, but the people we were looking for didn't have a torch. They might have had a small light on a phone. I think that was about it. Okay. So they were quite hard to find, but we were really obvious. And they had phone communication, so they're able to say kind of where they thought they were. So it kind of closed it down a little bit, as in they're within kind of a few square miles. But then they phoned up to say, oh, we can see loads of searchlights, and there's, these searchlights around us. The problem is, because there were kind of 10 different search groups or something like that out on the hill, there was certainly us, Penrith team and Kirby Stephen team out searching, and a number of groups out. It's like, well, which lights can you see? Who are you near? And things, and which way do we have to go? And then they said, well, we can hear, well, sorry, not hear, we can see this kind of orange light and this green light close together that are whizzing around. And well, this conversation was being kind of had between the team leader Pete and the missing people. And then I got this message off Pete. I think he phoned me up and said, Matt, what colour lights does your dog have on it? So, oh, she's got an orange light on her collar and a green light on the back of her search jacket. It's like, right, brilliant. I think you're pretty close to the missing people then. So we kind of walked one way, and then they said on the phone which way the dog's lights were heading, and then we walked back the other way to confirm. And I remember doing that and moving around a bit. He's like, yeah, it's definitely you, and they should be. And our team leader, he was really good. He was kind of working out roughly where they were going to be based on the way we were moving. And we were probably about a mile off. So then we started walking more directly towards them. And we did find them, the Morag did find them, but it was, she ran off into the distance and got them before I arrived. And we would have probably found them on the search route we were doing because we were heading down that rough way. But it probably saved us about an hour or something, because they could narrow us down to which direction we were walking in, and then be led in by the missing people by saying, yes, the lights are coming towards us, and oh no, they're going off a little bit to our left now. So they, we were going off to their left, so we'd turn a little bit left and we'd head off towards them. And worked really well. So it wasn't it wasn't so much a dog's find, but because the dog was really obvious with running around in a strange way with different coloured lights on her, we could be identified as a search team.
That's so funny. And you know what? The next time I can see it right now. The next time you go out, you're gonna have one of those little like rotating lights on the back of her.
Yes. Well, she's still got her lights on. And I just make sure that they're on. I mean, it helps me see her to work, but I've purposefully now got different lights on her to the other search dogs.
Okay.
So she can be recognised by me and by other people as well.
That's fantastic. What a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Nice. Oh my gosh. That's funny.
She can search a long way away. She can be, in her slightly younger days, she'd be quite happily 1/4 of a mile away from me running around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, I know Border Collies pretty well. I had one for a short time, but, medium time. Anyway, long story. But she was fast. Holy cow, that dog was fast. Like, she would come running. I would actually have to drive down the beach, and that dog would be running behind me. I'm like, holy smoke, this dog is fast. So, like, the 1/4 mile, like, it seems like it's a long way, but for a Border Collie, they can cover that in minutes.
It's nothing for them. I think because she's quite a long-ranging dog, I get really worried sometimes thinking, oh my gosh, she's all the way over there. And she's probably looking back at me thinking, oh, I can be back there in less than a minute. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Where I'm worried.
What's taking you so long? Hurry up.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. She'll disappear out of sight, search an area, and then I'll kind of, crest the ridge or whatever she's disappeared round. And she's there kind of like waiting as if to say, yeah, I've done this. The problem I have is I don't know what she's done and what she hasn't. So we then end up searching it again. And you can tell she's just bored because she's like, yeah, I've done this.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal
that's
dogs.
fantastic.
That's
so fun. Oh, that's
working
great.
Dogs are.
That's so fun. I'm really glad that you have a dog that one is just like so obedient and can cover such ground. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to one more, like, because you talked about it like before we started, but you actually got called out like twice in like back to back. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so we can be called out at any time, and if you go, you go. If you can't go, you don't go. But it was a few years ago. It was just after Christmas, kind of normally take holiday between Christmas and New Year. And I think, well, my work shuts. I have to take holiday. A lot of places do. You're probably familiar with that yourself.
It's kind of nice about a school schedule.
Yes.
All right, so my wife is a teacher, so I know it very well, right?
Yeah.
So when vacation comes, it's like, it's vacation time.
Yeah, I do miss those very long holidays. Anyway, it was maybe a day or two after Christmas. In the evening, we got a call to the top end of the Duddon Valley in the Lake District on the backside of Scarfell Pike, which is the tallest mountain in England in the Lake District. But there's a long valley that comes up the back. This is long by England standards, I need to stress. But we got called to search up this valley for a group that had gone over Scarfell Pike and potentially come down the wrong side. And it's one of these things where you've got to walk for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before you're actually at your search area, which then means you've got to walk for another hour and a half, 2 hours to get back out again after you've done your search. So it was quite a big thing. So we kind of walked in, did the search area. It was a big area, so I have to confess I probably didn't search it as well as I could. And then kind of in the dark through the night, and then didn't make a find, came back out. People were found the next day when the sun came up, and fortunately they were okay. Been a relatively mild night for middle of winter. And that was all right. And then got a lot of sleep the next night because I was knackered. And then the day following that...
Wait, I'm sorry, you were what? I hear you use this term, naked, worn out.
Knackered.
That's right.
Knackered.
Okay, that's right. I remember that term. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, and then
this is one of my favorite parts of the conversation with everybody in the UK. Like I'm learning so much.
So then basically 48 hours after, pretty much to the hour, we got a call to go to the same place and do the same search for a different group of people, and again all through the night. And I've never been a shift worker, and being a rescue volunteer, I try and kind of keep normal hours, as in I get up in the morning and go to bed on an evening. So doing 2 full nights back to back, I was absolutely wrecked to the point where on the drive home I stopped, had half an hour's sleep, woke up, I think at one point drove for another 15 minutes and thought, no, I need more sleep, pulled into another lay-by, had a bit more sleep. And it's quite a long, relatively for this area, long drive back from where we were searching, about 2 hours. And I think it took me about 4 hours to get back because I just kept having to stop. Yeah. But it was just, well, that was it really. Just 2 searches within, 2, well, not consecutive nights, but it was hard work. Yeah, but you don't know when the jobs are going to come in.
Right.
So,
yeah. I know Harry talked about it a little bit, but because you just mentioned driving like 2 hours to get the start of location.
yeah.
What's the farthest point that you guys will drive, like from your house, like your personal house? I won't speak for everybody. So what's the farthest away that you'll go?
Well, as a search dog in Penrith team, we have an area which is the kind of the north. Well, anyway, it doesn't. We have an area, and it can take about an hour to drive to the furthest point of our area from the base in Penrith.
Okay. Wow.
Because you get onto largely because you get onto really small roads, and you just can't go very fast.
Okay.
So we had
Is that the ones that drop down to like one lane? So if there's a car coming, somebody's got to pull over and then pass. And okay,
that's it. We had a search up there. We set off for a search up there a month or so ago for a missing 7-year-old kid. But fortunately, 2 minutes before we arrived on scene, we had a message that the police had found them. So that was big relief. But
cool.
But it had taken me 2 hours to get from work to there. And that was in Penrith's area. But that was kind of go to base, get prepped, get in a team vehicle, then drive up. And the driver, Jerry, amazing drive actually, but he didn't hang about. But it still was best part of an hour from our base in Penrith to there.
Wow.
But as a dog handler, then we do everywhere in Cumbria, in the county, and Cumbria is a reasonable sized county, but with having the Lake District kind of in it, you can't drive through the middle of the Lake District very well, so you end up going round. So if I was to go to the other side of the Lake District, you just do this big convoluted drive round the Lake District. And it is then you set off round and you go then call in at the team's base to get your brief, and then you get back in your vehicle and you carry on round. And it's a couple of hours really until you're ready to search.
Yep.
So, yeah. We have been called outside of the county before to kind of down into Wales and things. I've never been to Wales. I've been to Yorkshire, I think it was West Yorkshire, to do a search.
Wow.
Which was probably a couple of hours drive. So it wasn't ridiculous long because you're on better roads.
Oh yeah,
down the motorway and
yeah.
It was further, but it didn't take as long. And we could, in theory, be called further, but
for the most part, you guys stick around there.
It's normally in the county, yes.
Got it. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's good to know. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to bring us to another article because I want to highlight you specifically. Well, I guess you and Morag, but you because you're driving her everywhere. But this is super cool.
I'm glad you said that. That's the big joke with Morag because she's, particularly when she was a bit younger and she'd run around. I had a reputation of having the dog that would just clear off on her own and do it, and I was labelled as Morag's driver. She had the intelligence, the fitness, the skills, the stunning good looks, and I had a driving license and a car. And together we'd go off on our searches.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Well, with that, you actually went back in 2022 to the place where you adopted her. And you got a little article written about you guys. It was just and I'm just going to read a quick highlight of it. It's the title, Search Dog Morag and Matt Show Their Skills. A highlight of Oak Tree Animals Charity. It was a Christmas fair going on and you guys went back there. So it was to help raise money for the charity, for the animal charity. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, we've been there a few times because she came from there. They've been very good to us, and when they invite us round to their fundraising, I try and make an effort to go. I can't make everything, but it's a really nice dogs home, really really friendly people. And
that's cool.
Well, it's not just dogs; it's loads of animals they look after there. Yeah, so we've gone back, show our kind of thanks, and I think they've really appreciated her having her because she's one of the dogs that comes she's got a story to tell, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you go back there to help them raise money to support the animals and get them other animals adopted. I think that's incredible. Yeah. Giving back to the community, not just in search and rescue.
But it's good.
Come on, Matt.
Like, but for those events, it works both ways as well, because you turn up to show your support for the animals home, which then means that there's something to see for the visitors coming to the Christmas fair or the summer fair or whichever fair they're having. But then while you're there, you're also promoting the Search Dogs Association and Mountain Rescue.
Yeah.
And it gets everyone's name out there and helps publicize all these good causes. So
that's so cool. I think what I like about it is you're there to try to raise money to help all the animals.
Yeah.
Like it's a shelter. It's an animal shelter. And
yeah.
And Morag probably got a free lunch out of it. So instead of you getting the free lunch, Morag probably did.
Yeah, she got a lot of treats. And lots of fuss and lots of playing with the toy.
Oh, that's funny. Matt, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on. I've got one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. And that is, with all of your volunteer rescue experience and the fact that you've got a search and rescue dog, if you've got advice to pass on to everybody else that's out there doing this, what would it be?
I think, can I say two things?
You can say whatever you want.
Oh, well, one is, don't expect that you're going to be some hero. You know, I've seen a few people come into search and rescue who have probably thought it was going to be more exciting than it is. And actually, the vast majority of the searchers will just go plugging around a grotty woodland or on a barren bit of hillside or through some farmland, and you come back and go, there's probably not anyone there, and that's it. And you go home.
Yep.
So
You did a nice hike.
You do. It's lovely, and spending the time with the dog is wonderful, but it's not that kind of success after success after success. It's generally, it's as long as you enjoy spending time with your dog, it's great. But it's not always. It's frequently not very exciting. So that's one bit, and the other bit as well is that very much part of a team. The dog is amazing at looking for people. But like all these things, not perfect. The dog sometimes misses, just the same as searchers, humans searching sometimes miss. Sometimes drones don't see what they're looking for. And then, something like drone's amazing, but it's very limited by the weather. The dog is not so limited by the weather. But at some point, the dog will go, I'm bored of this, because though we never really got onto talking about how we train the dogs and things, for them it is a game. And once the game starts to get a bit boring, they can just kind of go, I've had enough of this. And I've seen search dogs who've just walked back and sat by the Land Rover ready to be let back into the vehicle. Because they've clearly just thought, oh, stuff this. I had to radio the dog handler to say, oh, your dog's back here.
That's funny.
And Morag hasn't ever done that, but you can tell there's times where she's kind of, I'm not too interested now. Towards the end, she's starting to flag a bit. So the humans, the people, we if there's a serious dark job and someone needs finding, we're the ones who can make that intelligent decision to keep looking, keep going. Yeah. Where for the dog, when the game starts to get a bit dull, for them it is just a game. So we're very much a team. People I think are the best asset overall. And also when the dog makes a find, that's the dog's job done. Although they can be amazing at that, they can't then carry the person off the mountain. They can't do the first aid. So it's just that it is very much a team effort. The dog is a valuable part of the team, but it is still a part of the team, just the same as all the other, other skills we have in the team. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if it wasn't for having the mountain rescue teams around, we wouldn't really be able to do what we do, because we'd make a find, then we'd be stuck there. So you do need all that support. We're just another cog in the machine, really.
Yeah, I like that. Well, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much for sharing what you and Morag do. It's awesome. I love hearing this stuff. And
thanks, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. Good. I'm happy. And I am looking forward to seeing the PowerPoint presentation of your physics. Okay. It might be the dog pulling the rope that's bringing the pulley up. Now we have a dog that can move. Oh, man, I'll tell you, when I come up there, I'm coming to see Harry. Yeah. We'll have to get together. We'll meet up and have a drink together, like a beer, a glass of wine, a whiskey, whatever you want. But even just a cup of coffee, I'd be happy about it.
Yeah, well, I'll bring the dog. You can see the dog. You can throw the toy for her. You can hide for her if you want. She can come and find you.
That would be awesome. I would love to do that. Yeah, heck yeah. Oh, that'd be killer. Right on. Well, thanks, man. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. Keep in touch.
Be good. Will do. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Blue Drop Training and Simulation. Blue Drop Training and Simulation for equipping your team with essential training solutions, including highly interactive courseware and advanced VR/MR simulation training tools. Explore more of Blue Drop's training solutions at bluedropts.com. Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Matt, do you have a funny story about something that you've done since you've been in part of Search and Rescue?
Yes, so that was not a dog job. That was just with the team. We're out on a hotel on the kind of edge of the fells, and the hotel had kind of extensive grounds. And unfortunately, tragically, this gentleman had passed away, and we as a team just went to collect him and walk him back to the ambulance. So it was quite a straightforward job, but it was one of these hard things. You know, we talked earlier about the dark humour of being in a rescue team and how you can help kind of unload and kind of unwind a bit by having a little bit of a laugh. And from people, you don't want people on the outside to know that, because they might not appreciate fully why you're doing it. And it's not that you're being disrespectful.
Agreed.
It's just you've got to cope with the situation you're in. Otherwise, you know, goodness knows what's going to happen to us. So we'd gone in to collect this gentleman, and his family were with us. There was his wife and I think a few other relatives, and took the stretcher, collected the stretcher. We were carrying the stretcher out, and it was all very kind of subdued. We were just quiet, dignified, and all this. And we were just walking down what was a path in hotel grounds, quite a nice, a dirt path, but a path, a few puddles on it, things like that. Just walking the stretcher down there, when suddenly one of our team members, Vic, just disappeared into this puddle, like properly up to his crotch in the mud. And it was just this normal, mundane path through this wood. He just, boom, straight up to his crotch whilst carrying this, or trying to carry the stretcher. At what point we were all trying to stifle laughs, thinking, we can't laugh. Until you look to the side, and then this gentleman's family had just burst out in laughter. They thought it was hilarious, at which point it was like, yes, we can laugh. And we're all just erupted in laughter whilst carrying a stretcher with the deceased person on. And then we just got ourselves back together and carried on. But it was a kind of, I think for everyone involved, it was a really welcome kind of 2 minutes of relief.
Oh my
Vic,
gosh,
he had
that's
a
funny.
completely soaked leg and trousers and things like that. But it's one of these that stuck with us. He'll never live that one down.
Oh, that's awesome. That's hilarious, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
No problem.
Hello, Morag. Hello, darling. Hello, good girl.